So at Turning Point Faith, we're going to try to our vision, and it might be foolishly optimistic, but I've been called that before, and now you can kind of see it. We want 1,000 Dietrich Bonhoeffers. We're not going to say like we're going to create them. I want to find them and encourage them. That's it. Find and encourage. Find and encourage. That's it. Because I'm not going to like train people or I just want to find and encourage.
Here's just a branding idea. Dietrich Bonhoeffer died as a martyr.
Yeah.
Go with 1,000 Martin Luthers. It's got a little more.
That's fair. I like the Bonhoeffer example because of the circumstances, the tyranny.
Yes.
But I also like the Bonhoeffer because I never want to make anyone feel as if I'm being anything but honest. It's going to cost us something. God forbid our life like that, but eventually we're all going to have to go to heaven. And so Bonhoeffer is the example of, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice everything I have for God's purpose on earth. But I hear you. It's not exactly the greatest salesman.
Yeah, no. I suppose I'd rather die on a glorious martyrdom than by getting a Dorito stuck in my throat.
They say you die twice. When you actually die and the last time somebody mentions your name. Bonhoeffer will be mentioned, I think, as long as human beings have breath.
This guy right here. Oh, you guys can't see. Remember this guy? The one who pulled his pants down at the Charlie Kirk thing, and then it's like, oh my God, I can't be interviewed because I had child pornography or whatever, He's the one that pulled his pants down at the moment of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Everyone thought he did it. Another quick reminder.
To 9/11, which is weird, this guy, the old guy. And then he was arrested for threatening to bomb the Salt Lake City Marathon finish line in 2013. This is George Zinn, Z-I-N-N. There's so many different things, and I get it.
Believe me, I'm always the last person to be like, okay, buddy.
That's the odds of that are in the billions.
They said that's like 0.00007% likelihood that this guy was there for 9/11. He was there for Charlie Kirk's murder, and there was a third component. He was there for some.
I think he was arrested for terrorism.
Let me ask you a question. When was the first time you heard the name Tyler Robinson or the Losi Center, a Mauser 98? For me, and I assume many of you, it was in the days and weeks after Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination on September 10th. And you better believe I've been doing some Googling since then, right? Who is Tyler? What are the access points to the Losi Center rooftop? What kind of damage can a .30-06 caliber bullet do? But what if I told you somebody, maybe multiple somebodies, were searching those terms before September 10th? What do you think about that?
Before the shooting. Well, there's Washington, D.C. At 11 a.m., the day before the Charlie Kirk shooting.
This guy figured out the day before he went back and saw from Washington, D.C., somebody had Google searched the guy they're claiming did the shooting. But it was the day before the shooting. Why would somebody in Washington, D.C. Google search a guy, Tyler Robinson, nobody ever heard of, from Washington, D.C.?
Wait, just one person or a lot of searches?
No, just one search.
Who's finally broke that it was, in fact, Tyler James Robinson. But notice that. That's weird. That is weird,
I gotta say. Why would anybody be searching the name Tyler James Robinson one day before he allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk? The data point is just a tiny blip, but it's there. Tyler James Robinson, right? A name that nobody knew of prior to September 12th, 2 days after the shooting, when the media told us who Tyler James Robinson was, right? A supposed 22-year-old leftist who hated Charlie Kirk. So what does that little Google trend blip mean? Well, I did some research using Google Gemini, and they say Google Trends, what it does is normalize search interest to the region you select. The formula is search interest equals total searches in the region and time divided by total searches for the term. So when you look at things from a nationwide context, the total number of searches is enormous. The small handful of searches for Tyler James Robinson on September 9th is so tiny, a fraction of all the U.S. searches, that it gets rounded down to zero. But then when you zoom in a D.C. context, if you filter for the District of Columbia, the total search volume is much, much smaller. So if a few searches for Tyler James Robinson on September 9th originated in the DC area, then this handful of searches becomes a significant enough proportion of all DC searches on that day to register a value of 18 out of 100. Then it says, and this part is critical, quote, the fact that the searches are localized to DC, a city synonymous with the federal government, intelligence, national media, and political organizations, strongly shifts the interpretation away from random noise or perpetrator checking his own name from an ambiguous anomaly into a strong potential signal of pre-event institutional knowledge or activity.
People searching Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk in DC. Why would anyone be doing that on September 9th?
Is interesting. And to be clear, I'm not coming to any conclusions myself just yet, but that is how Google is interpreting its own trends.
I cannot come to any conclusions other than the fact that, like, I want an explanation of that. And so here's more information specifically about that.
Psycho District of Columbia. Here's where, again, on September 10th, 11th, right there, you see the searches for Timpanogos Regional Hospital, people looking for where they took Charlie Kirk. But you'll see this spike of interest in Timpanogos Regional Hospital out of DC, and then no interest for 2 solid months before the shooting. But again, keep in mind that July 20 anchor date. Here we have a July 16, 2025. And then we have a July 3, and we have a...
Looking up the Utah Medical Examiner. The Utah Medical Examiner. As a matter of fact, let me go back just a little bit for this guy, just so that you guys can hear this. Like that is freaking wild, dude.
And isn't it weird that this is the only Baron
Israeli and Washington, D.C. IP addresses caught conducting unique Google searches for Timpanogos Regional Hospital, Utah Medical Examiner, Deidre Amaro, and various TRH surgeons during June and July of 2025. I mean, maybe there's an explanation for that. Maybe. But that's pretty weird, dude. Israel and Washington. And these are the places and the people who specifically, looked up, were involved in, like, this is where Charlie went, the medical examiner who worked on Charlie, all of that stuff.
Before we jump to conclusions, before we label someone a monster or a martyr, before we accept what we've been told is the truth, stop, take one breath, now ask yourself, honestly, have I actually seen the full picture? Or have I just been handed a version of events that was already packaged, polished, and ready for consumption? Because let's be real, we were given a name, we were given a motive, we were given a headline, but were we ever truly given proof? Please, before we move on, don't forget to drop your comment as you listening to this new updates. We would definitely respond to all comment. We will be glad to hear your feedbacks on this report. We stand for justice. We stand for Charlie. I'm not here to defend anyone. I'm not here to accuse anyone. I'm here for something far more uncomfortable. Accountability, not just for the suspect, but for us, the viewers. Because if we accept a story without questioning it, if we repeat it without examining it, if we let an entire case be decided for us rather than with us, then we're not observers. We're not witnesses. We're willing participants in silence. So today, I'm asking one simple question, not to the courts, not to the media, to you. Does this case truly make sense? Or have we all been nudged, gently, subtly, into believing something that was never fully proven in the first place? What do you think? Is the case moving forward carefully, or is progress being slowed by procedural delays? Share your thoughts in the comments below. That's where we hear your thought, because we will definitely respond to all comment and where you watching from. To stay updated on every development, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and also don't hesitate to support this movement so you stay informed as new update becomes available. This is Detective Max, and together we fight for justice. Because when a man like Charlie Kirk, a nationally recognized public figure, is killed in broad daylight in a secured venue with cameras and law enforcement present, the last thing the public should accept is ambiguity. And yet, here we are. We were told Tyler James Robinson acted alone. We were told he planned it, executed it, confessed to it, case closed, move on. But how do we move on when critical pieces of this puzzle are still being kept away from public view? Where's the uncut footage showing Tyler Robinson entering that restricted area? Where's the full ballistic trail confirming the weapon found actually matches the shot that killed Charlie Kirk? Where's the verified transcript, not the summary, but the exact words of the so-called confession messages allegedly sent by Tyler Robinson? These are not outrageous demands. These are basic expectations in any investigation, especially one involving the death of someone as influential as Charlie Kirk. Because if this truly was an open and shut case, why isn't the evidence open? And why was the story shut so quickly? Let's look at the official timeline, the one presented to the public after Charlie Kirk's death. According to reports, Tyler James Robinson left a written note, sent confession-style messages, obtained a rifle, accessed a rooftop in a secured venue, positioned himself without being detected by cameras or staff, fired at Charlie Kirk with deadly accuracy, then escaped, yet somehow still left behind enough DNA to be identified and arrested within hours. That is a perfectly structured timeline. Too perfect. In any real-world investigation, timelines are usually messy, full of unanswered questions, conflicting statements, missing minutes. But in the death of Charlie Kirk, everything was wrapped with a bow almost immediately, and that should concern anyone who values truth over convenience. Because right now, the public isn't being shown the full body cam footage from the moment Tyler Robinson was detained, the unedited surveillance trail proving his exact movements that day, the ballistic analysis linking the bullet that killed Charlie Kirk directly, without question, to the weapon allegedly found. Instead, we've been handed summaries. Summaries are not proof. Summaries are interpretations. And when the life of Charlie Kirk and the fate of Tyler Robinson both hang in the balance, interpretation isn't good enough. Only transparency is. Let's make one thing very clear. I am not here to declare Tyler James Robinson innocent. I am not here to declare him guilty. But I am here to acknowledge a possibility that too many people are afraid to say out loud. There is a difference between the one who pulled the trigger and the one who was positioned to take the blame. Because officials describe the killing of Charlie Kirk as premeditated, they use that word intentionally. Premeditation means planning, and planning rarely happens in silence. Planning usually means communication, logistics, timing, access. So here's the uncomfortable question. Are we absolutely certain that Tyler Robinson acted alone in the death of Charlie Kirk? Or was Tyler simply the final piece, the visible piece of a much larger puzzle? Was he truly, or was he the decoy placed, pushed, or positioned to absorb public outrage? If Charlie Kirk was indeed targeted with intent powerful enough to overcome security, cameras, and controlled access, then we must consider, was this the work of just one man, or was one man simply presented as enough? And if that question makes anyone uneasy, good. It means we're finally thinking instead of just accepting. Something strange happened after the death of Charlie Kirk, something that rarely happens in a criminal investigation. Decisions were made faster than evidence was shown. Within days, foreign nationals were banned from the United States over online comments about Charlie Kirk's killing. Public statements were drafted, not just in mourning, but in certainty. Leaders didn't say, "We're investigating." They said, "This is what happened." And all of this unfolded before the public was ever shown unfiltered proof that Tyler James Robinson acted alone. So ask yourself, was justice moving fast, or was narrative moving faster? Because real justice is slow, careful, and verified. But what we saw after Charlie Kirk's death was immediate, coordinated, pre-written. When government officials react quicker than the court system, that usually means one thing. They aren't just responding to a crime, they're shaping the public's perception of it. And that should concern every single person watching this, regardless of who they voted for, or what they believe. Because if this case, involving someone as well known as Charlie Kirk, can be locked into a narrative before the trial even begins, what does that mean for every other case that doesn't have cameras or media attention? What happens if Tyler Robinson truly acted alone, and no one believes it because transparency was denied? Or worse, what happens if Tyler Robinson didn't act alone, and no one is allowed to question it? Either way, someone gets betrayed. And right now, it feels like the public is being positioned to accept closure instead of clarity. This is not about politics. This is not about liking or disliking Charlie Kirk. This is not even about choosing sides between Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson. It's about one principle that every person, regardless of belief, background, or party, should agree on truth should never be filtered. If investigators are confident in their findings, then full transparency should only strengthen their case, not weaken it. So let's make it simple. If Tyler Robinson acted alone, let verified evidence speak for itself. If no additional individuals were involved, then clarity should be easy. Show the full footage. Let timestamps be seen. Let ballistic tracking be demonstrated from start to finish, not through narration, not through summaries, but through complete, unaltered documentation. Because justice should never require trust, it should be demonstrated. This isn't accusation. This isn't division. It's a reasonable expectation. The truth does not fear being seen. And if everything is as officially stated, then full disclosure will only bring peace, not conflict. Here's something history has proven time and time again. When answers are delayed, speculation fills the silence. It doesn't matter if the case is political, criminal, or completely ordinary. When key evidence remains unseen, the public naturally begins to wonder why. And that's not rebellion. That's not conspiracy. That's human nature. Because people don't like being told to trust. They like being shown why they should. If there's nothing to hide, if the investigation into Charlie Kirk's death is as clear as stated, if Tyler Robinson truly acted alone, then give people the one thing that removes doubt better than any speech, press conference, or headline: unfiltered clarity, not selective screenshots, not blurred frames, not edited explanations, just the full context. Because silence may keep things controlled, but it does not bring closure. And right now, millions aren't angry. They're not rioting. They're not dividing. They're just saying, if the story is complete, why can't we see all of it? Charlie Kirk deserved clarity in life, and he deserves clarity in death. Tyler Robinson, whether proven guilty or not, deserves the same standard of fairness our justice system claims to stand on. And the public, the witnesses, the families, we all deserve answers without filters. Because asking for transparency isn't rebellion. It isn't disrespect. It's the foundation of trust. And if that simple request makes anyone uneasy, then perhaps transparency isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is what full transparency might reveal. So let's make this clear. No hostility, no villainizing, no reckless assumptions. Just one principle: everyone, regardless of belief or background, should be able to agree on asterisk. Let the evidence speak, not summaries. Let the truth breathe, not be narrated. Let us see everything. So here's where I'll leave you. If this truly was an open and shut case, why are there still sealed files? If every angle was already reviewed, why are there missing angles in the footage? And if this story is as simple as we were told, why does every new detail make it more complicated? In the next episode, I'm breaking down the one overlooked clue that could change how we see the entire timeline. A detail buried in reports, but hiding in plain sight. Because this case isn't just about who fired the shot. It's about who controlled the story. If you're ready to go deeper, stay with me. This isn't over.